Well, good Friday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo and Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business and let's wake up the football gods here. I hope everybody's doing great on this Friday. And guys, do you understand? Ladies, kiddies, take a look down there. You know, we're 6 days, 9 hours, 46 minutes, and 20 seconds away from kickoff of the season. This time next week, we'll be talking about the first game that'll be in the book, and we'll be talking about the Cowboys getting ready to take on Tom Brady. Oh, my God. I don't know about you, but I'm excited as can be. I could not be thrilled any more than I am right now. And there's so much that's been going on with the Dallas Cowboys. It has been a cornucopia of content to talk about. I mean, the Cowboys today, here, you know, we've got a lot. Let's start out with the big news. And I mean, really, really big, you know, big ass Jason Peters. Yesterday we heard that he was going to be coming in for a visit, and there was no word on if he missed the flight, if he came in, if Jerry was whining and dining him. But late yesterday evening, we heard that nothing was expected to happen before today, but expect something to happen one way or the other this morning. So it is now 9:30 Central Time, and we are waiting to see if something does in fact happen with Jason Peters being signed. I know Eagle fans are laughing their ass off right now because, you know, they're saying, yeah, you guys are so desperate. You know, you're going for one of our throwaways and so on. Well, you know, we're not looking for him to be a starter. Hopefully he doesn't have to be a starter. Hopefully Tyler Smith, who seems to be completely confident in what he's already been taught, and literally listening to Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, you know, he's literally saying he's confident about starting week 1 at left tackle. Zach Martin's advice to Smith is transition from guard to tackle. No one expects you to be Tyron Smith. No, as long as you are not Chaz Green or Ty Nsekhe, we're okay. And I think that we are going to be a little bit different than what people think that we were. But Jason Peters, another Hall of Fame offensive lineman who will come in and back up. I know people are like, he's 40 years old, but if you watch the YouTube clip of the plays, and that's floating around through YouTube all over the place right now, so it's not a problem to see. The person that did it, shout out to them. He was not a liability. He missed a couple of plays here and there, but what offensive lineman hasn't? And, you know, when we talk about a swing tackle and a backup, he's better than anybody that you have as a backup currently on the roster, in my belief. He's definitely better than Josh Ball. That's not to say that Josh Ball won't become a really good offensive lineman, but you have to look at it basically like this is Josh Ball's rookie year because he was hurt all last year. And Matt Lorensko, well, it is his rookie year, and he missed most of training camp because of a hurt shoulder that he's wearing a harness and may need to get surgery on it. And I'm not ready to go ahead and say, let's put our franchise quarterback's life in two guys who have yet to play in the NFL. So that's where we are on that. The Jason Peters watch continues, and if anything breaks, we'll definitely come in with that as well. Other news, Dak Prescott talking about Noah Brown. Noah Brown has shot his way up the roster and is now the number 2 wide receiver. Where this be? It's really interesting is it's my belief that the Cowboys are going to use a lot more 12 personnel. And when they use 12 personnel, that will mean that what we're looking at here is CeeDee Lamb, of course, with Noah Brown, basically as your 2 receivers. I think we'll see less 3 wide receiver sets. Now, that's not to say they won't rotate and change. I think what you'll see is you'll see Tony Pollard, who will be going out the slot and stuff, and misdirection kind of, you know, where we have him in the backfield. All of a sudden, we switch to an empty backfield because you got Dalton Schultz, who's also a really good pass catcher, over 820 yards last year. And then you also have Jake Ferguson, a guy that they really seem to be high on, who can catch the ball as well as being able to block. And so you start looking at that and you realize how important that number 2 wide receiver is. And what Dak has said about Noah Brown is he's earned my trust from day one, and it's only gotten greater and greater. You want to find a guy who's the epitome of being a professional. It's Noah Brown on and off the field. And, you know, as much as the talking heads have been talking about how bad the Cowboys wide receivers are, and how Amari Cooper is gone, and how the Cowboys are going to suffer, and CeeDee Lamb, is he really a number one? He should be a slot guy, and then it's CeeDee Lamb and a bunch of guys. Well, I tell you what, Dak Prescott, he seems to like his guys. He seems to like the fight in him, and I have it from somebody who kind of let me know that he's actually giddy and excited about the potential that he has. And we haven't seen everything. Understand, we have seen completely vanilla in preseason. In fact, we haven't even seen our starters. And we've only seen vanilla in practice. We don't have the full litany of all the things that the Cowboys are going to do. We hear about Tony Pollard in the slot. We haven't actually seen that really in effect. With the Cowboys doing it in real speed and real time and putting all of these pieces together. We've seen Jake Ferguson thrive with Cooper Rush and Will Greer, but I'm guaranteeing that he'll be even better with Dak Prescott and having a Zeke Elliott there. So when we start putting all this stuff together, I'm going to say that this isn't your daddy's Jason Garrett's offense, that I hope that the faith that I'm putting in Kellen Moore to actually be more dynamic will be warranted, because regardless of what you've heard, don't believe the hype of the Cowboys' death of their offense. I think you're going to see something totally different, especially when you have a guy who's got speed like Turpin, old number 9. Also, with this team, for all those out there that are ready to pack it in, it's done. Let's go ahead and start thinking about the draft. You have guys like Micah Parsons, and I love this. Micah Parsons is realizing his potential and his burden about being the best player he can be. I love this quote. John Machado tweeted it out. Being the best player in the league doesn't mean you're going to have 20 sacks. Being the best player in the league, you're leading your team to a championship. I have to make everyone around me better. I have to be one of those guys who can lean on in big moments. I have actually been really blessed, okay? I know I'm not a journalist or, Cowboys, where I work, at the Cowboys directly. I am Joe the fan that has actually had some really great opportunities and been able to talk to some really cool people. Excuse me. Didn't mean to sneeze there. One of those was great to actually listen to Micah Parsons' dad. Over the summer, I actually got to talk to Micah Parsons' dad, do an interview with him, and it was incredible to understand more and more about Micah Parsons. And see, Micah Parsons, nothing was given to him. He's always had to earn everything. So when he wanted to leave school early, you've got to get your degree first. You want to go? You got to get your degree. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. For him, it's always been about making goals and achieving them. And so when he says he's going to do something, you better believe that he's going to do something. And that's where you now have, for the first time since probably Sean Lee in his better days, say 2014 and 15, we really have a true leader on the defense. That's not to throw shade on DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence has been a leader out there. He's done it more through his mouth. But I think you're seeing a guy who is actually rallying the troops and getting the excitement on the field. That guy who everybody looks at, and when he makes that dynamic play, or when he gets in your ass, you're going to listen. That's what a Charles Haley brought to the Cowboys. Excitement and fear, because Charles was one of those guys that if you messed up, you have to understand, at JMU was in its infancy in football. Didn't win much, didn't have winning seasons when Charles Haley was there. When he became a professional and started winning, he owned that shit. And if you weren't about winning It's like you stole something from his mama, and he was going to come after you. And that's how I feel about a Micah Parsons. He understands, he understands he's the big dog. He understands that everybody's going to come to him. It's kind of like he's got no pressure on him. He's just going to go out there and do what he does. And I love that. And that's where I look at this and I say, you know what? For all those that are out there ready to give up, I'm not ready to give up on this team when I know I've got players like Dak Prescott that are out there that give it their all. Even when the average person would be crying and out there like a little biatch, he goes through it. He puts in the work. Micah Parsons, another guy like that. And quietly, guys like DeMarcus Lawrence. It's amazing how quiet everything has been. But I feel like it's the calm before the storm. And I look at this and I think we're looking at a changing of the guard or an evolution for the Dallas Cowboys, where for once the defense isn't the redheaded stepchild, that we're going to get back to the glory days of the Dallas Cowboys defense helping to lead the team. And you can talk about Jerry Jones and Tony Romo and Dak and their failings. The missing component has been a defense that complements the offense as opposed to subtraction. So as we get ready to get out of here, let's go to, we always do this. We always listen to the talking heads and listen to Get Up this morning and see what Get Up's got to go ahead and trash the Cowboys about today.
East last year, but they failed to make it past the wild card round in the playoffs. So coming into this season, there is skepticism surrounding the Dallas team. Dak Prescott says he understands all the questions about the unproven Cowboys players, but he says they're going to step up.
It's all excitement. It is. It's truly a privilege to be the quarterback of this team, to be the leader of these guys, offense, defense, this coaching staff that we have. And, yeah, especially with everything being said about us. You know what I mean? The lack of what we have is keep writing, keep talking. We're ready to go play.
All right, so there's Cousin Dak
keep writing, keep
Dominique,
talking.
And we had Tad in the mentions the other day, so they're ready to go here for this season. How would you describe the level of confidence and optimism surrounding a Dallas Cowboys team in your mind when so many others have so many questions?
Yeah, I'm like so many others. I have so many questions because I think there's a lot of unproven players that they've added to this roster that they're going to need to step up. And it's hard for me to have faith in unproven players when they're in a structure or in a system and under a head coach who hasn't really shown us the ability to kind of make the decisions that will put these players in the right positions to succeed. So it's going to be a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, which I guess is nothing new. There's always a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, but I'm very much looking forward to everyone hating on him all season long and him disproving them. But I do not have high expectations. They're not a Super Bowl caliber team right now. They could compete with the Eagles to win the division, but that's about it.
Here's what I would say, Jeremy. To me, if you're hating on Dak Prescott, then boy, are you missing the point. He's the only sure thing they have. They have an excellent quarterback. That might be the only thing they have that we feel really good about right now. And the questions are really mostly about the coach. How would you describe, from the people you talk to, how solid the ground is under Mike McCarthy as the season begins?
Well, Dallas is going to give him a fair shot. They're not looking to move on right now. They feel good about where he's at. They say, hey, talking to people in Dallas, we won 12 games last year. I know it didn't end the way everybody wanted it to, but there's going to be added pressure this year because of all the pieces they've lost. And really, we talk about Dak Prescott. I asked a few execs this week about some MVP sneaky candidates, and his name comes up. They say this might be his best chance because no left tackle right now, multiple wide receivers out. Questions about Zeke's explosiveness, it's all on him right now, maybe more so than even the coach.
You know why they said that? Because they're watching this show, and I've been saying it all summer long. Tannenbaum, I've been saying it all summer. If the Cowboys are going to win that division, if the Cowboys are going to win something like 12 games again, it's going to be because that guy who wears the number 4 has a huge season, takes it from where he is now, which is a very good quarterback, and becomes what some people think he has a chance to be, which is that little handful of the very best guys in the entire league. He can do that, and if he does, that's Dallas's only chance.
And he can. He's that type of quarterback. And I'm more focused on what they do have. They have Dalton Schultz, who caught 78 passes. Tony Pollard should play more in the slot to get him on the field. He averages 6.2 yards per touch. I think CeeDee Lamb has the ability to be a bona fide number one receiver, Greeny. They will get Michael Gallup back. And look, Tyler Smith is far from perfect, but he is a first-round pick that they like a lot. And when we go to the other side of the ball, this is going to be year 2 with Dan Quinn, and he had a major impact a year ago. So, look, I don't like their injuries either. I'm concerned about not having Amari Cooper. But this team has plenty of good players. And let's remember this, Greeny. They have the best quarterback in the NFC East. And at the end of the day, that will make the difference.
They have the only proven quarterback in the NFC East at this point, and that is an enormous difference maker. And Dominic, quickly on that defense, because there's so much attention paid because the big names, most of them anyway, are on the offense. But the defense could be the strength of this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think their defense was really good last year, but it was dependent on a lot of turnovers, and those can be fickle. You can't count on those things to repeat themselves. So I think Dan Quinn is going to be very focused on the fundamentals, trying to bring down the penalties, trying to continue to create turnovers, but also trying to figure out what the hell to do with Micah Parsons. And it's not because there's a wrong place to put him. Anywhere you put him is the right place to put him, but they have to figure out where to put him in order to have the greatest impact. And it may just be a rush in, because it seems like he can get pressure as good as any of these great rush-ins we have in the league right now. Micah Parsons, who is an off-ball linebacker, is probably more productive by a statistical standpoint than the rest of those guys out there. So figuring out how to integrate him in an offense in a way that maximizes his productivity is a good problem to have for Dan Quinn, but it's a big problem right now.
Well, you know, it's an interesting point. A little later in the show, we're going to talk at length about Micah Parsons. In basketball now, we use this expression, positionless. Micah Parsons might be the first positionless defensive player in the NFL. And, oh, by the way, he might just be the best defensive player. We only have time for one. So
okay. All right. So Micah Parsons might be the best defensive player out there. That's an interesting thing. You know, I'm just not ready to go ahead and think that the Cowboys are going to be garbage like people think. I just think the defense is going to be too strong, and I still think there's enough playmakers. I know people think that Zeke Elliott is done, but from what I saw at training camp, Zeke looked like he still had a burst. He still had a little bit of a pop in him, and I think he's going to actually be able to do some things. I honestly believe, as much doom and gloom as we have right now, Tyron Smith missed 5 games last year. But beyond just the 5 games that he missed, there were some that he was not as effective as he could have been because of the ankle. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that Tyler Smith is going to have some issues. He's going to have some bad plays. He's going to have some penalties. But if the Cowboys are evolving what they're doing, if they really look at trying to be that running team and play action team, I think that Tyler Smith will be very, very effective because he'll be able to use his number one skill, which is using that brute strength and drive blocking the hell out of people. And when you can start pounding away at guys, when you can start, just basically running them over, rough shot, then when you start play actioning and start doing bootlegs, it's actually a thing of beauty. And so this is where I believe that the Dallas Cowboys are in a transition. And the other thing that, as much as we kill the Cowboys for, the Cowboys have gotten rid of pretty much all the old players. I know we might bring in Jason Peters, but the Cowboys over the last 2 years have pretty much turned over the majority of the roster quietly and end up having a lot of young studs in there, a lot of young playmakers that are in there, and one of probably the younger teams in the NFL. Now, Jason Peters, if they sign him, will probably skew that a little bit differently. But when you think of Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, and DeMarcus Lawrence, those are your oldest guys on the roster, maybe Jason Peters. You look at the rest of the team is like 3 years or younger for the most part. And see, that is going to be similar to what happened during the 90s. The Cowboys, they brought in a lot of people, some of them big name players and things like that. Some guys who were bust or thought to be busts, guys like Nate Newton. They ended up bringing in constantly, turning the roster over until they found the right guys. Okay, you might bring in 4 guys, and maybe you find one that fits your system just right. But now I've got one that's young that fits my system just right. Let me work on the next position. And you can see where this team is in a position to evolve and grow during the future. As guys like Micah Parsons start getting into their prime, as guys like CeeDee Lamb, who now had an off season to work with Dak Prescott, he's only going into his 3rd year. When you get guys like, Noah Brown, who's young, who's getting his opportunity, you have guys like Tyler Smith and Terrence Steele that are growing and developing and getting better. A guy like a Tristan Hill, a guy like Neville Gallimore. These are young guys. They will make young guys mistakes. But you look at the future of these guys in the Dallas Cowboys, they're actually building something that's pretty good. And so with that being said, we're going to get up out of here. We're going to keep the watch on, of course, for Jason Peters. We're going to be doing some work in the workshop. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Shout out to people that have made some orders and things like that. Rock, I'll get started on making your hat racks and stuff right now because I know you said you want 3 of those bad boys. I've got the Joe Bardys we got to get out there and get done. I got the cutting boards for like Chris May and a couple other people that have ordered stuff, so I appreciate the orders. And I've got more work to do here outside getting ready for next week's big game, because you guys are going to be in the house. So as always, you know how we roll. Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing.